Hi, it's Christy of So to Speak, and welcome back to the second season of the Closet series. We have our man Walter here, looking dapper as can be, to help us kick it off. And we're going to do it with a bang, a mini series with a closet full of guests to help you move through, get through, survive, thrive, even blossom maybe through winter. So no matter where you find yourself on that spectrum, depends on the day, like most of us, these guests are here to just help you along the way, offer tools, offer some insight to allow you a chance to find the light at the end of the winter tunnel. And we are going to start it off with a wonderful woman by the name of Jakki Leonardini. She's based in Northern California. She is an energy healer, a soul coach, and the co-founder of WellSoul workshops, as well as a really awesome app called My Soul Vibe. And it's a super fun app. We talk in depth about it. And we also share the importance and the beauty of the word discernment and how we can all have a chance, in fact, a right to uncover what's already inside of us and discern the difference of what's truth and what's not. We go into one of my favorite topics, which is where we can find levity on this whole personal growth game, because don't we need a little bit more of that? I know I do. And lastly, Jakki shares some key areas to focus on when you're looking for a coach or a therapist that is a good match for you. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy our conversation. So Jakki, I'm so excited that you're here. I love it. And I love, the conversation that we had to cut short because we wanted to save so many pieces for this actual conversation to share with people. And we really ended up narrowing down to the importance of the word discernment, which embodies so much of the work you do. So I want you just to run with that. Like when you hear the word discernment, what does that mean to you and why is it so important?
Well, discernment, my definition, and in the work that I do with my clients as an energy practitioner, and especially in our seminars that I do with my business partner, Casey Crown, at WellSoul, our aim is to share with people tools for attuning to their own clarity, their own knowing, that inner voice, or you could say the perspective of their soul. And when we begin to see things through the perspective of our soul, meaning that everything is happening for us rather than to us, we can begin to discern the difference. And what discernment is, it's not a judgment that something is good or bad or less than or greater than. It's not a value judgment or a competition of winning or losing. It's discerning what is this that is happening around me, involving me relationally, and is it in a frequency of love, light, right? Or is it in a frequency of fear, shadow? And discerning the difference. And then saying, okay, where am I in agreement with light and where am I in an agreement with shadow? And then identifying that through that inner knowing, and in that stillness, in that moment of discernment, making a decision about how we want to respond. So it's about this focused attention on what is in this moment, what frequency is present, and now that I'm aware of it, what am I to know from it? And with this new knowing, this new clarity, what am I to do next? That's for the highest and best good of all concerned, including myself. And that's what discernment is. So judgment is binary, right? And judgment is limiting. And so what we want to do in our practice, especially with energy is attune, and then without judging, and then moving, and then move through it with that knowing. Does that make sense?
So that totally makes sense. I'm just going to keep picking it apart because I think it's a very abstract concept for people to grasp. So my goal with you, with the audience watching, is that they leave the conversation so much clearer about the power they have inside to be able to differentiate between intuition and inner knowing and fear. Because I think oftentimes people get, I know I did too, so I'm projecting a little bit, but just like our intuition is protective. So there's a sense that it can sometimes be misconstrued, right? Like our fear of hurting other people or how we're going to look or approval is very different than intuition. So
well, yes, exactly.
yeah. So if you could speak to that.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest learning curves in our spiritual practice, is really discerning or knowing the difference between that intuitive voice that's saying, hey, don't go down that road, and if that's just a fear or the illusion that something's going to be or go wrong. So illusion in itself, so we fear, which creates an illusion. Does that make sense?
Totally.
And I'm going to ask you if that makes sense, because when I channel, I'm just asking spirit for these answers. And so I want to make sure that I'm articulating myself in a way that's understandable, and also in a way that resonates, because the biggest thing about discernment is it has to really resonate within you. And when we have a fear, when we go into fear is pain. And so when we're afraid, we go, we tighten up, we get rigid. And it's in that moment that we want to say, okay, we want to attune to the divinity within us. So by name, okay, divine spirit or God or whatever name you have for that universal entity of light that surrounds us and that lives within us. That's where we want to tune in and say, is this knowing, or is this information that's coming into me rooted in a fear? And is it an illusion, or is it something that I need to pay attention to? And simply by shining that light on it, if it's an illusion, it will fade. If it's something we need to pay attention to, then the question we ask is, what am I to know about this fear, so that my next step isn't in agreement or in an enslavement to my fear, but is actually taking an action or having a thought, speaking a word, or making a move from a place of light. So even if I'm afraid of walking down the street and that's a real fear, instead of being enslaved and going in agreement with that type of energy, I'm going to shift and say, I know that walking down that street isn't safe. Therefore, I'm going to go the other direction, not out of fear, but in protection and in honor of my safety. Completely different than saying, oh, I'm afraid and I can't do that. When we do that, when we go into that fear, now we're stepping into the fear. Now we're agreeing, and now we're going to be afraid moving forward in things because things won't feel safe. Does that make sense?
It does make total sense. And I want to just connect that. So, and to hear what your thought is on this. So what you're making me think of too is language that we speak to ourselves. So being able to also catch within that visual,
right,
that mindset and that lens. I'm kind of feeling like when you say illusion, it's like, what are we looking at? Is what we're saying of what we want versus what we don't want. So I don't want to get hurt. Okay. The minute you hear that, to shift that to what you do want, so that you can then go the protective way. Is that in line with what you're saying?
100%.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
we want to focus on what we want. I want to be safe. So I'm going to go the other way. Instead of saying, oh, don't be silly about your fear or trying to talk yourself out of it. Sit with it for a moment. Is this a real fear? Is this real? And here's the other thing. If you don't know, if you can't tell the difference, then just wait for a moment. Or go in a way, again, what do I want right now? Well, I want to get from point A to point B. So in order to do that, I'm feeling more comfortable to go this other way because I am sure that it is safe. Sometimes our intuition is going to lead us somewhere and we're going to go and it's going to turn into a conflict or it's going to be uncomfortable. It doesn't mean that we made the wrong decision. Sometimes our soul is going to lead us to something that may stir up discomfort. And it's because there is a lesson in there, that something that we need to face and find the light in and move through. And oftentimes what happens, and I hear it all the time, people will say, well, I really trusted my intuition and I made this choice and everything fell apart. And now I don't feel like I can trust my knowing any longer. And oftentimes what I hear come through for those people is, no, wait a minute, you're in the exact space that you need to be in right now for your growth and expansion. And there is so much light in that experience that you believe wasn't the right choice because it was uncomfortable. But truthfully, that discomfort served your highest and best good so that you could come through it and out of it with more wisdom. So that when the next time comes around and you have a choice or an option, when you move into that, it's going to be exactly what you're trying or wanting to create.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. And I'm wondering too, if you could even get even more detailed in regards to discomfort, because we don't like to be uncomfortable, right? And so we usually shy away from it. So are there tools that you have or any insight you can offer people on how to discern between the discomfort that is what you're talking about, that's part of the growth, versus the discomfort that's like, maybe it's even your intuition saying like, no, I don't know, but there's a difference there.
So yes, there is a difference. But what I want to say about that is, when we have stillness, when we sit in stillness and we ask the question, I'm in this place of discomfort in this moment. What is this discomfort have to say to me? Discomfort is not a bad thing. It's an opportunity to release pain that we're holding within us. That discomfort is a part of us and it's vibrating at a frequency that is in the shadow, and it has limitations to it. And our soul loves the truth, meaning our soul is light, and our soul wants us to be in more light, to grow and expand our light. And the way to do that is to let go of where we're holding on to shadow. Each one of us have a vibration that's unique to who we are. That vibration is composed of light and shadow frequencies. Shadow, again, fear, and anything that has to do with fear, anxiety, insecurity, jealousy, competition, control, etc. Love, the energies rooted in love are compassion and kindness and trust and honor, etc. And so the core of who we are is light. We are divine beings of the light at our core. We are love. We are truth. We are creativity. But as we grow into these expanded beings, we collect, we could say, dust along the way or pain along the way through trauma. Trauma is rooted in pain, in a fear frequency, in shadow. We hold these traumas within us in all four layers of our being: mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical being. And what our soul is doing when we embody is saying, okay, we want to find and let go of where we're holding on to these diminishing frequencies within us so that we can release them and remember or reacquaint with all of our being, all of our light. And so when we face a difficult relationship or a difficult situation in which we feel uncomfortable, even in the moment or in a continual pattern, it is because we're we're gripping onto a limiting belief. Pain in the body, mind, or emotions is bent energy. Bent energy is rooted in these limitations, what I call pain pictures. So for example, if I am, 7 years old and I get lost at the grocery store and I can't find my mom and I feel alone and hopeless in that moment, in that trauma, I'm going to decide, or I decided that I'm not capable of keeping myself safe. And now I'm holding on to that within me. My soul wants me to let that go, that pain go, because the truth is, my mother found me. I am safe. Or as a divine being, I am never alone. It is never hopeless. There's always an energy or something surrounding me that is love. And so I will, at that vibration, because we are magnetic beings, we are light, I may bring in experience after experience that is saying to me, you can't keep yourself safe, because I believe that, until I wake up and say, wait a minute, why do I keep having this experience where I feel unsafe? Until I realize that this experience is trying to tell me that that is a lie that I'm holding on to, and that actually I am more than capable through my divinity to be safe, to take care of myself, and to move and grow through anything that comes my way.
That was crystal clear, especially the last part when you're talking about why the patterns keep showing up, because it's actually an opportunity for us
Yes.
to shine a light on what we need to release to have more light inside of us, is what I'm hearing.
Exactly. And so when I call it, when we feel uncomfortable, say when we walk into a room and all of a sudden we feel totally uncomfortable,
Sure. Yeah.
instead of saying, oh gosh, I don't like this, how do I want to avoid this, or this doesn't feel good, so I need to get away from it. Instead, embracing that moment and saying, okay, I'm lit up, I am uncomfortable, and I know that this discomfort is because it's within me. And there is something that I am to know from this. That when we can get there, that is living through the perspective of our soul. That is seeing that everything that occurs is for our growth and enlightenment. And in that, we can take comfort in knowing that we are supported through our divinity in moving through it. That no matter how uncomfortable or how dark something gets, we can always find that little teeny bit of light. And that light can be the lesson, and not like I want to teach you a lesson, but the growth opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And in that growth opportunity, then if we move in that direction, it will open up. And in that opening, we will receive more clarity. And in that, we'll be able to release that shadow, that discomfort that's within us.
I love how you said when the discomfort comes that we're lit up, because I so often hear that we're triggered, and there is a negative connotation to that, but I love the idea of like the discomfort is it's shining a light on something, is what I'm taking from you. And it's just
Exactly.
it's such a kinder and more tender way of looking at discomfort.
Yes, and
Yeah.
it's also a kinder and more compassionate way to look at the person who maybe you're saying has really hurt you,
Yes.
or who you believe is betrayed you, and they lit up betrayal within you. I already have betrayal beliefs around betrayal that I'm holding on to in my being, and now I'm having this experience of betrayal with somebody. And why? And not why, like, why me, poor me. We want to let go of the illusion of being a victim, and we want to step into the knowing that we are capable in anything to find more truth, and that truth is within us.
Mm-hmm.
And that in that truth we can grow, and in that growth we can experience more love, because when we let go of the shadow frequencies, we raise our vibration to more of a divine creative vibration. And now when we've let go, instead of having the shadow dimming our light, we are vibrating at this higher, and I don't mean higher like more righteous, I mean higher like just vibrational brightness that will then attract more of that like frequency to us. And so it's like cleaning yourself off, right? I'm dusting myself off. Now I'm a little bit cleaner, a lot shinier, and my vibration rises, and then I will bring more of that to me. And so when we, like I said earlier, don't fear fear, and we say, okay, fear's present. All right, what do I need to do here? What do I need to know here? We ask spirit. In that ask, the divine will always show up if we trust. People will say, I had a client the other day say to me, I don't know why I don't trust myself. And I said, well, what is your relationship like with the divine? Do you talk to the divine by name? Call in the light through running our energy, the practice that I share with people, grounding into the energy of the earth, attuning to the divine cosmic energy that's all around us, bringing it in through our subtle body, our chakra system. When we do that, that is an active form of prayer. We are then inviting in these light frequencies to co-conspire and co-create our experiences and our relationships. And does that mean it's going to be one miracle after another? No, it actually can mean that you're going to have to face one shadow after another to bring it up, bring it out, illuminate it, let it go, so we can have a cleaner vessel to bring more divine light in, and then radiate that not only out into the world for ourselves, for the highest and best good of ourselves, but the highest and best good of all.
Absolutely. I love that whole connection, that whole interconnection that leads to, because I feel like so many people need to understand that by doing this work, they're inevitably contributing to the greater good. Because I mean, it's, and a lot of people I think need to hear that, because it can seem sometimes self-indulgent if there's a big inner focus, but in the end, the inner focus, we're all connected. So there's that interdependence and interconnection with each other. I just love that you highlighted that. And such a great way of reframing the idea of discomfort. Like, just because you're having more of a relationship with divine, whatever you call it, but just a larger power, doesn't mean that all of a sudden everything's going to be rosy and there's just going to be like a red carpet laid out for you, but that it actually may be bringing up a lot of gunk for you to release it and to not fear that showing up. It's actually, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And in that, then once we get through these, and it's like any relationship, you build trust, right? And our relationship with our divinity is a relationship that builds in trust. That's how we move into our knowing. I realized this like in hindsight. It's very funny because I was about a couple years ago, I was on a podcast and we were talking about this very thing. And I heard myself say to the host, I didn't trust myself until I trusted my relationship with the divine. And I thought, wow, okay, that's exactly true. Because I know that when I connect to that spirit, that frequency, that all will be well, that I will find my way. It may be a little bumpy, but it's not going to be like this. And we're supposed to have it be a little bumpy because it's how we grow. And just in that knowing, then you stop second guessing yourself. And if you do, you remember the tool of attuning to spirit and just asking and being in stillness for that moment. And then asking what I do, and this is, I think, something I share with my clients and in seminars, is I just say, okay, spirit, divine spirit, show me the way, please, with a message that I will understand with ease and grace, and for the highest and best good of all concerned, including myself. In that prayer, if I sit in that prayer in a moment, when I'm in a moment of doubt or in a moment of second guessing or in a moment of anxiety or fear, and I pull myself aside and just ask that, and then move as I follow the signs. And again, with messages that you will understand, because a message I receive is going to be very different than a message that someone else will receive, because it's attuned to me, to my experience, to my knowing. And spirit speaks in all different ways. I mean, for me, a lot of it is in music, in song, and or through nature. I'll see an animal or something will strike me, a color will beam through, and then I'll know exactly, okay, that was for me, and this is what it's trying to tell me. That's discernment. And this is helpful because now I know, okay, I'm going to go this way instead of that way.
Mhm. And speaking of tools, do you have, so you just shared such a beautiful way that people can speak it even to themselves or write it down, just, showcase it to me so that I can understand it with grace and ease, I believe is how you worded it so beautifully, so that it's
Mhm.
just like there, like you can't not see it, you can't not feel it that way, right? And then you also add in that interdependence again of, for the best for all involved. So
Yeah.
it's just this wonderful, beautiful, like encompassing that all will be benefiting from me waking up a little bit more, from having my bell rung a little bit more.
Yes.
Yeah.
When we say, for the highest and best good of all concerned, including myself, that's where we know we're showing up and doing our job within the divine matrix, because everything, every thought, every word, and every action does have a ripple effect, because it's energy,
Yeah.
right? We're putting a signal out into the collective force of energy, current of energy. And truthfully, I would rather be putting out a love signal than a fear signal in that current. I don't want to join the currents of fear and anxiety.
And it's
I
a
want to,
flood right now of fear and anxiety. So
yeah,
we don't need any
yes.
more of that adding to it. I totally
Yeah.
agree with you.
It's like, and you go see a sporting event and everybody does the wave, right? It's like
Yeah.
that current of wave. Now that's really exciting and in favor of, good cheer and positivity. That's great. But a wave that would be fear-based or diminishing in some way, shape, or form, why do we want to give that more of a charge?
Mhm.
Then we all become like a wave. We get taken away in it,
Mhm.
and it leads to feeling less than or more fear. And so what's so important is, and that's again discerning, where am I in fear and where am I in trust?
Mhm.
And not judging your fear to be good or bad. It just is. And now I don't want to think, speak, or act from fear or from anxiety or from righteousness or judgment, which are really tricky, right? Because our logical mind wants us to put things in order of good, bad, right, or wrong.
Mhm.
And that in itself is diminishing. And I always say this, there is no judgment or righteousness in the ethereal realm. It's unconditional love and forgiveness. And what forgiveness says is, I don't agree with shadow.
Can you say that?
I
Can you say that one more time?
What forgiveness is saying, I don't agree with shadow. No matter what the shadow tries to tell me or do to me or convince me, I will not agree. If you come at me with anger, I will not respond in anger, because I'm going to honor that I am love. That is salvation. That is freedom. And I believe that that is the energy of Christ force, forgiveness energy. And the entity of light, Christ, came in and showed us what forgiveness is. And I am not speaking in the form of religious belief. I'm speaking in the form of energy, in the form of this light called forgiveness that is so freeing, because what we say then is, no matter what, I am going to honor my divinity. No matter what, I'm going to show up. When I say highest and best good for all concerned, what I'm saying is, I'm going to speak, I'm going to act, and my thoughts are going to be directed towards light. And in that, I will have more clarity and more freedom, and I will move through. And that is what forgiveness is.
I love that perspective on forgiveness. It's again, like the words that just keep, it's like a big, like nourishing bubble. You know what I mean? Like it's just this protection, it's support, it's comfort. It's so compassionate, like so much self-compassion and compassion to others. And I just want to highlight a few things that you said that I found were like super important, going back a little bit even, that it's a lifelong practice. It's not like you ever get there, right? So like when you're talking about a higher vibration and you clarified, like, I'm not talking about being better than others. It's so clear that you're talking about expanding when you say higher. You're not talking about a level that you're reaching, right? So it's raising your consciousness, it's unveiling, it's whatever you want to call it, right?
Yes.
Not sleepwalking through life anymore. So when you're saying that and you're talking about judgment and asking why not from judgment, it's like a flashing light of curiosity that keeps popping up in my head, is like, how can I be more curious about why, instead of like defensive, like, why did this happen? And again, that's all energy too, because it's I always go back to acting and in theater and stuff like that. Like, you're talking about the subtext, like you could be saying the same thing, but the subtext is the energy. So when you say why, you could be saying it from a lower vibrational subtext of anger or defense, or you could be saying what you're recommending to lean towards the light and the love is from a space of curiosity. Like, why do these patterns keep popping up? Instead of like, I'm such an idiot, or that guy's such an idiot. It's more like, let's just stick, like, let's get curious. And it adds like such a playful, fun, adventurous feel to life, which I feel everybody could benefit from, you know?
Well, it's freeing, because what it does is it says, listen, I know that I've embodied in order to go through sets of lessons for my growth and expansion. Therefore, I expect to make mistakes. And it's interesting because, my dad always taught me, everybody makes mistakes. He'd say, Jakki, it's what you do after. And sometimes you make the same mistake over and over again. And you have to just keep getting up, and you have to keep moving toward doing more in the light and letting go. But what happens is we get so judgmental of our own mistakes, we forget to have compassion for ourselves. And what compassion really says is, I am perfectly imperfect, and so is everyone else. And I know that what I just did, or what the choice I just made, I can see that it came from my shadow, and I don't want to agree with it anymore. So please show me the way to this growth and expansion, so that when I face this again, I make a choice in the light, in trust, in knowing I'm capable to face this if I move through the frequency of love. And the more we kind of inch our way into those choices in the light, the more we know we're capable. Our capability comes from taking wise action through the frequency of light. So that's what our esteem, self-esteem. Our worth comes from just the simple knowing that we are these beautiful light beings and that we are perfectly imperfect because we are here to ascend and to shine more brightly so that we can illuminate not only ourselves, but the collective.
Yes, and I love you connecting that to esteem because it reminds me of in Anatomy of the Spirit. I'm sure you know that with Carolyn Miss, like where she talks
Yeah.
about there's a distinct correlation between being really intuitive and having a connection to your inner knowing and your self-esteem. Like
Yes.
they're just they're interwoven. So
Yes.
I love that. I love that whole idea. And also just speaking before where you were about tools, I want to make sure that you get a chance to highlight the fantastic app you created because so many people need different tools. Like some people don't like meditating, some people do. And so I want you to
Right.
be able to shine a light on, and it's My Soul Vibe. That's the name of it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's My Soul Vibe.
So fun.
It's really, you know, I love this app that I created with my business partner, and um, what we did is we took the work that I do with my clients, and we created a technology that can read the frequency of your voice, and in that give you information about the energy present in your auric field. And your aura is the energy that is emitting from your mind, body, and emotions out 7 layers of your aura, right? As wide as your wingspan. And that information or that vibration holds information about you, your feelings, what those feelings have to say to you, right? And also in getting this information, so when you use our app, what it is a tool for one to understand what your vibration is in the moment, right? What it is that you need to attune to that will help you get more centered. So once you get to see your vibe, so it'll actually show you the colors present, then what we give you is a sound healing meditation. And this sound healing is basically what will play back to you as the sound of your vibration, the sound of your soul. And in listening to these tones, these musical tones, it brings your energy into the present moment, allowing you that space, that stillness now to set an intention to focus your day on or to focus that moment on, and an intention that is in the light, that is positive, that is in the direction that you want to take yourself. And that's so important because what we focus on, we create. But oftentimes, when our vibration gets thrown off, when we're not fully present in the moment, we have trouble then creating or moving our experience or our relationships in those directions that we are intending. And so what the app does is it's a great on the go tool because you can be in a moment feeling off, feeling uncomfortable because you're lit up. You can check your vibe to see, okay, I'm feeling these things, but what really is going on with me right now? So you receive that information. Okay, now I have a better understanding. I see it, I know it. And by listening to the sound healing, you can shift the vibe, move your energy now in the direction, in the present that you want to create. And so it's really great because I wanted to democratize energy healing. So the app is free to download. And I'm so happy about it because I've gotten great feedback. I mean, people really do use it multiple times a day just to help create that stillness and then that awareness. And then actually, it's a tool that makes people feel capable. Like I can actually do something in this moment to change or shift what's happening. So it's happening for me rather than to me.
Yes. And again, it's so much fun. Like it just creates this playful, and because I feel like anything within spirituality can get very serious very quickly, and it kind of it can be a little bit like the nail in your car tire. Like it just kind of seeps out. You don't even know it's fully there, and all of a sudden you're on the side of the road derailed. Like what's in, so I love anything that brings a little bit of levity and fun to the idea of being on this adventure of life. Like it's so awesome. So thank you so much for contributing that to the whole mix.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for pointing that out about the humor and the fun, because, a lot of people use the app and they're like, what's your color? What are you vibing at? Like, what's your vibe? And it's really kind of fun to see. And then, if a color in your vibe shows up, that's, a shadow. Okay, big deal. Face it. It's not, it's okay. It's more than okay. This is a great opportunity. But the fun part, or the laughter part, is so important, because that's spirit. Laughter, levity is the divine. When we get serious and rigid, that is shadow. And that's the first thing to know. Now, being serious is different than being focused, right? Being focused is about, being serious is about, I'm afraid, or I'm rigid, or this, we got to make this serious. And when we get stiff like that, the light has to work really hard to penetrate that. And so the best thing we can do is laugh. I remember when I was in energy healing school, and, I became a healer because I was really struggling, and I still struggle. Just because I do this work doesn't mean my life is a bed of roses, or that I'm always making these choices and discerning all the time. It means that I have tools that I know when I get off track, that they bring me back to my center, and then I can continue to grow. And that's really important to say to people, is that we are all on this path of growth. And when we're in pain, and I used to say that, to my teacher, gosh, I've been doing all this work and things just don't seem, I feel stuck or whatever. And he would say, because you're feeling abused rather than amused. And that's Michael Baker, my mentor. And he goes, get out of abusement and get into amusement.
I mean, love it, Jakki.
Come on, look at the shadow and go, okay, great. What else do you have for me?
Yes. Stay curious. Oh, get out of abusement and get into amusement. I love it's so great.
Yeah. When someone's giving you a hard time and you're going, okay. Or when you make a decision that leads you down a road and you're like, I brought this on myself. Of course you did. We're bringing everything on ourselves because we want to let go of all the pain that's stuck inside us. And you know what? You want to say, Spirit, bring it to me. Show me where I'm holding pain, because I want to be well. And if I'm holding dis-ease within me and I'm stuffing it inside the 4 layers of my being, it is going to come out some way, shape, or form. Illness, disease is a frequency. And if I keep stuffing anxiety, it may show up as acid reflux. And I need to say why before it manifests that way. Because it will. And so don't fear it. That's when people say, well, love your shadow. It doesn't mean, oh, I love my shadow, I want to keep you and nurture you. It means shine light on your shadow and say, it's okay that you're present, because I know that I'm going to grow from looking at you. And I'm not going to look at you so long that I get consumed by it. That's taking the poison pill. I'm going to dip my toe in just long enough to get the message so I can get out and raise my vibration.
Yeah, staying objective. I'm hearing like so that's like when you talk about water, you're walking up to the water, such a great visual. And because
Right.
it's still the mirror, right? And so you're able to see it. You're not going to wallow and wade in it and hang out in it. You're just going to kind of dip in. You're staying curious instead of judging, because that's going to lure you into it more. And you're going to see what you're learning from it right then. And you gave so many tools. I love the whole idea of like, if you have time to do like a power pack of doing your my soul vibe, seeing what comes up. And then after you do that meditation, then ask one of the questions that you shared, like, what's a sign that I will absolutely understand with ease? And where do I need to heal? One or the other that can come after you've gotten yourself into that alignment. It's
Yes.
a beautiful pairing.
Yeah. And just show me the way, Spirit, with ease
Yeah.
and grace. One really important thing about when we ask that question of Spirit, okay, show me what to do now. Show me where to go. Show me, a sign that's going to give me clarity. Sometimes that question is going to be answered by call your friend or get support or take a salt bath and cleanse yourself or just be still. Sometimes it may just be still and let the divine work for you, and it will come to you. So that's the importance of setting an intention. That's why in the app we ask people to set an intention, because intentionality is that signal. This is what I would like to see happen. This is what I'd like to experience. And then trusting Spirit to meet you in that intention. And then that energy will form in some capacity, either in an exchange with someone, in an experience you may have, or a new job, or whatever it is you're asking for will come forward through that intention. But you want to give Spirit enough room to work with you.
Mm-hmm.
In that, it's really important to know that not only does Spirit support us, but our relationship with the divine is our relationship with the divine. And even when we get support from other people, whether it be professional support or family support or a friend or an acquaintance, we are the experts in our own life. We are the expert in our relationship with the divine. It is a direct relationship. And so when we gather support and listen to what someone has to share with us, their wisdom, take it and take what resonates with you and incorporate it into your own knowing and wisdom. And whatever doesn't, let it be. And if somebody tries to tell you that they know what's better for you than what you know, then that's a sign that there is something that is not of the light happening through their perspective. Does it mean that they're ill-intended? No, it doesn't, because we all can only see through our own lens. And so someone's going to see you and your situation through their own lens, and that's okay. That's their honesty. Is their honesty coming from a truth frequency, a light frequency? That's what you want to ask. Or are they speaking to you through the lens of pain, shadow? And we don't want to judge them for that. We just want to see it. We want to discern it. We want to say, thank you for your honesty, and I appreciate it, and leave it there. Mm-hmm. Let it be, because that is theirs to learn, mm-hmm. right? Yours is to say, okay, I know that I want to work through truth. What part of what they just said, or what part of support did I just receive that was in a frequency of love that I'm going to honor, that resonates within me? And in that, you are the keeper of your energy. You are in seniority over your being and your knowing. And that's most important. And that's what we're all here to do, to gather seniority over our energy, and to say and to know that I am in direct relationship with the divine in that seniority. And in that, all things are possible.
I did have two things. So I loved two things that you said about reaching out to a professional and how to get there, right? So there were two things you said I want to highlight. One is it's not about going outside of yourself first for answers. You're checking in with yourself first and then
Yes.
listening in to see where it's guiding you out. So
Yes.
am I reaching out to this friend? I mean, and it could be like, I lost my job and now I'm looking for a new job. And then all of a sudden you go in and someone you haven't talked to in 5 years pops up and you're like, I'm going to follow that intuition. And then they end up giving you a great lead. I mean, it could be that much of a flow, but I love the idea of, I'm not going to just go outside of myself from like a weaker place to get information from someone else from their perspective. I'm going to go in first so I can listen to my inner knowing of, do I stay still? Do I go for a walk? Do I reach out to this friend? Do I go to this place? Like I want to highlight that because I think it's so different than immediately going out. It's not
Yeah.
saying like going in, you have all the answers and you're never going to need anyone. It's just saying that when you go in, you're going to be so much more in tune with which direction to go outside of yourself.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. And
yeah.
sometimes, I'm hearing to mention this too. And sometimes when we're really in a trauma, like a capital T trauma, right? Or a crisis, and we feel completely out of body, completely maybe hopeless, or maybe we're really down in a low point, there's someone in that moment. I think the prayer is, please, spirit, bring someone in to help pull me through this. Please pull me through this in any way possible. And watch who shows up, right? And then from there, that's where we really have to sort of trust that we're going to be pulled out of the muck if we can just find that one person. And sometimes, that light, when that light comes in, it won't be obvious or evident, but if we hold in that ask, it will come. And that's called hope, right?
And patience, which we all could be using more of, like this whole busy, that slowing down to be able to hear, listen in, the patience of it. Also going with in regards to finding a match for a professional that you may reach out to, specifically a professional, whether it's a coach or a therapist. You had such a great idea. I love how you were like, no guru with the X, because we're our own expert. We're the only people who've lived our own life. I love the idea too, when we were talking prior to this session, is paying attention to your comfort level of trust and your time frame of not feeling rushed to disclose more at a time where you're not ready to, but that sense of holding that space where the person allows you to show up fully at your own timetable.
Yes.
Huge.
Yes. Huge. Patience and divine timing, it's interesting because we all want things to happen for us now, right? And that's natural. But sometimes we just have to say, okay, I trust that when it is going to be, it will be. And in the meantime, please allow, or please show me the way so that every thought, every word, and every action is a reflection of my divinity, so that my intention becomes my reality. And may I act right from that prayer, from that knowing, in co-creation with the divine. And so every experience then, when we hold in that ask, every experience that comes then is an experience that is on the pathway, right, to our ask, our intention. And it's like, I love the Wizard of Oz. It's like I'm on the road, I'm on the yellow brick road, and there's going to be challenges along the way and things to face. I mean, that story is a perfect example for what I'm saying and for what I'm sharing, I guess. And it's quite simple. Follow the path and trust that with every step you take, if you stay focused on the light, if you hold the focus on your intention and you do your very, very best to attune every part of you to that destination, you will get there, because it is from within you, the magic to create. But that magic illuminates and manifests through our co-creation with the divine. That's where our magic wand comes from. And so it's not about doing it on our own ever. We're never on our own. We're always, always surrounded by energy, whether it be in the form of a person or a spirit or nature. We're always supported on that road toward our growth, our enlightenment. That is our purpose. The things that we're asking for are our mission that is going to allow us to fulfill our purpose.
Jakki, thank you so much. This was so, like I just said to you, it was just like tight. It was meaty. I love the one thing I'm so taking from this is amusement over abusement. It's so awesome. I love it. So,
I have to tell myself that I don't know how many times a day, right? Jakki, be amused by this, not abused, not abused. It's a great one. And I have to say that came from my mentor, Michael Bates. So I can't take credit for that one.
Well, shout out to Michael Bates because it was fantastic. So when people want to learn more about you and what you do and to get the My Soul Vibe too, where can they go?
So My Soul Vibe app is on iOS and Android, so the Google Play Store. More information about me, my website at JakkiLeonardini.com. Also, there's a meditation, if you'd like, you can download from my website, a healing meditation. And then follow me on Instagram, just Jakki Leonardini, or mysoulvibe.app on Instagram to receive information. I offer Sunday meditations. I always put it on Instagram and they're open to everyone. So we do healing meditations twice a month on my platform. And I would love for anyone and everyone to join. It's about attuning our chakras and not only healing ourselves, but offering healing energy for one another and for the planet.
It's so beautiful and it's so needed right now. It's such a wonderful gift. So thank you, Jakki, so much. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you. I'm so grateful for this chance to share with all of your viewers and to converse with you. It's always really a great joy for me.